Yo, what's going on, people, and welcome back to Mandem Football. It's your boy Demeachnyc here. Follow me on Instagram at Demeachnyc. Follow me on Twitter or X or whatever the hell they call it at Mandem_football. And definitely like, comment, and subscribe on the video below. So, this topic I definitely want to get off my chest. This is more of a video that's just getting off my chest because I've been hearing a lot of scrutiny about managers, especially managers of the modern day and the present day. And I just think like a lot of the stick that I'm hearing and a lot of the criticism that I'm hearing in football is just so unwarranted. And I think a lot of it comes with subjectiveness and agenda from, say, rival fans. If we're talking like maybe a Barcelona fan against Real Madrid, or say Inter Milan and AC Milan, like you know what I mean, like just simple subjective and rivalries, and having that rivalry become part of your opinion and your perspective, where it's like this is not what this is. This is about objectiveness, clear objectiveness, and clear opinions on what is real, right? This is what this channel is all about. It's about real perspectives and hot takes that make sense. And if it's disagreeable, then comment and we'll definitely discuss it. Other than that, I think many pundits, many journalists need to keep your mouth shut, and many fans need to keep your mouth shut unless you know that it's warranted and it's objective. Now, going into this video, I do want to mention a lot of the scrutiny that I'm hearing about managers such as Pep Guardiola and Ange Postecoglou and Mikel Arteta, and just many things that I'm seeing that just make absolutely no sense. I'm going to start off with the first thing. I'm going to start off with uh, money, right? How much money needs to be spent as a manager, and why, it's warranted to criticize a manager for spending so much bread, spending so much money on his team, and that team not being successful, or that team being underwhelming, and so and so. So, I think we've been hearing this a lot over the last few years, especially over the past 10 or 15 years, because of how much the the transfer market and how much money has been inflated for players. And honestly, I don't look at it that way. I don't look at it where, right, you undervalue a coach compared to another coach because one coach is successful with how much money he spent and him being successful with that, and another coach being successful with not having a lot of resources and not, spending as much money, and so and so. Right. So if you want to put managers in the bracket, in this bracket of they spend a lot of money and they've been successful and their team's doing very well, we can say Pep Guardiola. We can say Antonio Conte. We can say at the moment Mikel Arteta. We can say um, who else do we want to put in that bracket? We can say Ange Postecoglou for fuck's sake. We can say many other managers in the modern day that we could talk about. Um, I don't even know. Say Luis Enrique, right, with Barcelona. You know, we can name so many coaches. I can name a shit ton. We can look at managers that have been known for being successful without really spending that much money, right? We can say Claudio Ranieri at Leicester City. We can say uh, we can say Jose Mourinho in the past with, say, Porto and several other clubs. But Jose Mourinho is also the one to spend a lot of money as well, so you can put him in both categories. If you want, you can say Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, very early on, but you can also say that he spent money, right? But also you have to remember that these are managers that have spent money, right? These are managers that actually have went to the market and spent players for players that they needed into their squad, such as Jurgen Klopp with Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk and Allison and so many other players that made Liverpool Liverpool, right? And still to this day Liverpool. But my issue and the main point I just want to get across is why why do fans and why do people actually have a go at managers for really spending money, right, and being successful as a coach, as opposed to, right, a coach that is also successful and not spend as much money. Right. So let's get into that first. To me, that makes completely no sense because at the end of the day, what's expected is the same thing. You know, if you're the coach of Barcelona, if you're the coach of Real Madrid, right, you know, fans of each team and the board of each team and the players of each team want to just win things, want to be successful, right? So it's a matter if you're a coach and you notice that this team that you have in front of you is not going to be successful unless you go into the transfer market, you go into the scouting and the recruitment, and you make sure that, listen, I want so and so in order for my team to be successful and for my team to compete because we want to win top level trophies in all of Europe or all of South America or wherever you want to play, wherever you are playing. Right. So if you decide that that's what you're going to do, then you're going to do that. And the board or who the higher ups actually agree with you on that. But if you're also a coach, right, that decides, well, hold on, I like the team that I got right here. I don't need to spend this much money. I don't really need to go into the transfer market. If I go into the transfer market, it's to, you know, not spend so much. It's not to break bread. It's not to, you know, use all of our resources and put all of our eggs in one basket into the transfer market and rely heavily on the transfer market. But I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket with the team that I got here in that case, right? Because I think that the team that I have is fine, right? So if we're going to compare and contrast the first scenario, you can obviously, you know, symbolize that with Pep Guardiola over the years. And you can look at that with Arne Slot right now with Liverpool. As we know, he didn't really go into the transfer market for anyone else besides Federico Chiesa. So he didn't really have to do that. But my point is that, right, there's absolutely no need to go at a coach for, there's no need to go at a coach for putting so much effort and money into his team just for the sake of his team being successful or just for the sake of his team, him wanting his team to be successful and to be competitive and so on and so forth for the near future. And there's no need to go at a coach who doesn't put in the money or doesn't, you know, put in the effort that's expected of everyone else to break bread and, you know, put money into the transfer market in order for his team to grow, which we've seen, say, with Arsene Wenger at Arsenal, right? I'm really just coming up with these scenarios and a lot of these examples off the top of my head, so bear with me here. But if you have still bared with me, just take a minute and understand where I'm coming from with this, because I know for sure that I am not the one to hate on a manager for doing what he thinks is right, because the point is that a manager, the whole point of a manager is to get the best out of the team that he has, whether it's those players are starting for him, whether those players are on the bench waiting to get subbed in, whether it's the players that are at home reserved waiting to get their time to actually be on the team sheet, right? So he needs to get the best out of everyone. So that is Ange Postecoglou, that is Antonio Conte, that is Inzaghi, that is Diego Simeone, that is Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, Jurgen Klopp, Thomas Tuchel, Hansi Flick, Nagelsmann, all of those managers that I just named, all of them have the same exact point, the same exact objective that I just mentioned, to get the best out of the team and to get that team to win things, right? No matter if they break the bread or no matter if they don't break the bread in the transfer market, they have the same job to do, right? So my theory is that do not go at a manager for doing what he thinks is right, whether that's spend money in the transfer market or not. But it's to actually look at the manager and have a go at him and to criticize that manager if he is not getting the best out of the players that he wants from his team. If he's a coach that's not getting the best out of the team that he has at hand, that is when you actually have to have objective criticism, because it makes sense, right? You look at Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola is a manager, in my opinion, the greatest manager to ever live or of the modern era, and has absolutely changed the game of how we watch it and the way it's being played and everything. But he's also a manager that is suffering from his own success, right? He's a manager that has spent the money for years and years and years and has sacrificed a lot of the up and coming talent that was meant to play for Manchester City at some point. The biggest example of that is Cole Palmer at Chelsea, right? He sacrificed a lot of that, but he's also been a manager that didn't really spend that much money, over the years. Say when he was at Barcelona, the early days of Barcelona, and how much money was not spent at all, and that team is the greatest team to ever live. Now he's at Manchester City, and he spent so much money over the years, and he's successful for it. But now you look at the team after 4 years of winning the Premier League, winning the treble out of those 4 years, winning the Prem last season, and everything like that. Now he's suffering. Now Manchester City are no longer as good as they were before. And now things have really come into a turmoil. But you have to look at it and go, well, he didn't spend that much money over the summer. He let go of a lot of players, including Julian Alvarez, brought back Gundogan, brought in Savinho, you know, and they're not good, but you would expect them to still win the Premier League. So you can't look at it and you can't tell me that you're going to blame Pep Guardiola for not going into the transfer market and getting players, because the players that he has are Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri. Unfortunately, he got injured. And all of these other players that are unstoppable that would win you trophies, which have worked for him for the last 40 seasons. So it's like, you can't blame the guy. You can't blame Ange Postecoglou for getting players like Dominic Solanke and having the likes of, who else, Bergvall and Archie Gray want to play. Where it's like, well, he did spend the money and he did save a lot of the money because he brought up a lot of players in the academy. But also, like, he's not getting criticized. He's getting criticized for the wrong things, because I think he should be criticized for not getting the best out of the players that he has on the pitch at hand, right? Does that make more sense? I think that makes completely more sense than having to go at him for spending this amount of money into the transfer market and having to sacrifice that and save the money by bringing in kids like Archie Gray and Bergvall and some other players that he didn't have to spend too much money with. I just think that, like, there's absolutely no need to go at a manager for that. I think the manager is doing the right thing for, okay, say this one wants to go into the transfer market and spend a whole lot of money and wants his team to be successful, because he thinks that if I get this guy and they come to my team, then this team is going to be incredible and it's going to be elevated. Where this manager goes, well, hold on, I don't want to do that. I like the team that I have, and I'm going to get the best out of them no matter what. But if those two managers don't get the best out of their team and they're falling way off the picture and are underwhelming and are below expectations, that's when criticism needs to be addressed. That's when the real criticism of the manager comes in. Not if the manager is successful and should be taken credit away from him because of him spending money, and this manager not getting the credit that he deserves just because he decided he didn't want to spend money. So it's like there is no double standard, and there is a double standard right now. But I don't think that double standard should be in existence in the first place, because I just think football is too subjective and everybody wants to have their subjective saying based on their perspectives of their own clubs and their own agendas and what they think, this club should be run and how this club should be run, and, based on how their own club runs and everything like that. It's like, listen, that's not how football is played. There is no way of playing football. There's no way of how to coach, because there's so many different ways of how to do it. So I just think that that's something I just wanted to get off my chest, because I just think, like, that is a complete misconception of what's going on right now in terms of how coaches want to coach and what coaches need to do in order for their team to succeed, right? If I'm given a team, or if you're given a team, I should say, if you're given a team and you notice that your team is just shit all together, your team is just shit, and you know that if you want your team to no longer be that way and you want your team to succeed, then you go into the transfer market no matter what and you get those players. Now it's your job to get the best out of those players that you have, just like the players you had before. And if you're a manager that sees that your team is not shit, but doesn't necessarily need to break the bank to get players or to recruit players into your team, and you have trust in yourself that you can make this team great and phenomenal, then you have the same responsibility as the other coach to get the best out of the players that's on the pitch, right? And that's real talk right there. That's ball knowledge. And that's the shit that you're not going to hear and you're going to see it in the media. A lot of stuff you're going to see in the media is, well, Pep Guardiola is great, but he's never been the manager to not, spend a lot of money, or he's never been the manager to be on a lower level team, or to be at a team that didn't have a high budget and he had to work his way up to make that team great and all that. It's like Pep Guardiola is too good to be a manager for Fulham. He's too good to be a manager for Tottenham Hotspur, or he's too good to be a manager for, I don't know, Marseille or Lyon. Like teams that are not elite. You know what I mean? And I don't have any disrespect towards Tottenham. I'm only saying that out of banter. Or he's too good of a manager to be a coach of Arsenal and Manchester United, right? That's because of how good of a manager he is. So I'm not saying anything to be spiteful. I'm just saying it as an example and as a point, right? He is too good of a manager to be a manager of these clubs, because what he wants is success. And his tactics and his philosophy are so beyond what we've seen over the past few seasons. So can't have a go at a manager for spending money and being successful, and having a go at a coach for not wanting to spend the money but is also successful. It's like that's Arne Slot and Pep Guardiola in a nutshell. It's like, come on, guys. We got to do better than that. So that's what I got for today. That's just something that I wanted to get off my chest. Big games coming up over this weekend. The big one is definitely the Manchester Derby against Manchester City and Manchester United. And if you think I'm not going to be here for that, you are highly mistaken, because I will be there for it. And I will try to have a video before that, and I will definitely have a video after it to review it. So until then, I'll see y'all in the next one. Have a good night, and peace. Like, comment, and subscribe.